You look amazing, everyone. My name is Zarihun Ndala, Country Director for FICA Ethiopia. And I'm from here, so if you need any tips about the place, I'm here with you. So in our presentation, we say these are the points that we want them to be transferred, and we'll be starting with co-financing. However, you said financing is the least important. So what's the point of me presenting about financing now? Well, let me try. With some governance structures we laid out in systems and some financing mechanisms we were able to do at FICA. FICA is, by the way, a rural infrastructure organization, mainly in Eastern Africa, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Uganda, and Zambia. Only 4 countries, very small organization, but highly influential when it comes to rural transport, rural access. So that's our experience when it comes to financing is what I would like to share in the next 5 minutes or so. So, as we say, access in the rural East Africa is a huge problem. 70% of the population is in the rural area, and we say poverty, rural isolation. We envision that poverty caused by rural isolation can be prevented, or we can end that. That's what we want to do at FICA. And we say safe arrivals for everyone, everywhere. As East African, you know, FICA also means to arrive safely, right? Yeah, and that's what we try to do. At FICA, in all the governments I just mentioned, co-financing is a very strong component. Some of you, probably, let's say from Ethiopia, work in different sectors, can be health, education, and such. Co-financing is not an easy matter. Something has worked with FICA, and that's what we want to share in rural infrastructure co-financing. And infrastructure is not really an easy investment as well. Also to raise and to manage it. What we do, what we are going to say, what I'm going to share now, and my 3 other colleagues presenting in different aspects of our topic, helped us get a couple of hundreds of millions of dollars from different organizations. So if there is something that we can share, that is what we are trying to bring that out. The first aspect is the buy-in, obviously. The buy-in from the technical experts in the government is extremely important, obviously. But what really brought a change is on the financing decision makers. When it comes to Ethiopia and rural infrastructure, it's the regional road bureaus, for instance. The people sitting in the parliament, the budget cycles, that is what has brought the change. Because I've worked also in different organizations, we say we have a lot of acceptance from the technical counterparts. That's one thing, but really important is the decision makers. We usually underestimate how important those videos are we show to the non-technical decision makers, whose background probably is in finance, in law. Those 2-3 minute videos that we show them, we make the time and we show them, are extremely powerful. And also, we sequence the capital in a way that we de-risk the innovation. It is an innovation that we are coming up with in our different areas and sectors. We de-risk the innovation and also do a lot of assessments beforehand. So we do the invisible work with our seed capital. That is what comes first. Then we also want to show in our researches what development outcomes can come out, so that it's very politically visible to the decision makers. The ROI when it comes to health, education, and all other things. And it's politically visible. It has also very clear, supported by empirical evidence, the development outcomes also. And from that, we, as FICA and as in our group, we have a system readiness matrix. So this system readiness matrix, it shows, it has 4 stages, as you can see: the preparation, establishment, institutionalization, that word, and normalization. When we are starting, as you can see, when we are starting, the development actor's role is higher, as you can see from this brownish color line. And government ownership is low as you start. That is okay. But as you move on, because here you are only building the baseline, you might not even have experience in country, as it was the case in Ethiopia. But at least you have a baseline. And then you would go for establishment phase, in which you would have further assessments, of course, by co-creating with the government and actors. And also, there is an interested party here as well, an investor, of course, government, and also donors. Then, where FICA in Ethiopia is the 3rd stage, institutionalization stage. In this stage, you try to find with all the actors where the system block is, roadblock is. Then you try to find the system lever. So it can come up with the capacity. It can be about, so that will be supported by technical assistant. It can be about a curriculum. It can be about the private sector. It can be about the fabricators. So you find all those challenges and work that out in the establishment stage. In the institutionalization stage, you are now doing a scale up, of course, but also preparing for a normalization. At this point, for instance, if I remain a little bit in the institutionalization phase, at the moment, we are co-financing 80%, 80, by government for every bridge that we build in Ethiopia. And the bridge would cost $100,000 and serve about 10,000 people, 5 to 10,000 people. And government co-finance 80,000 for every bridge. Now, and they have the capacity to build, to lead. And what we try to do is we create the environment where, let's say, footbridges are built. That is what we wanted to do. And the normalization is the government would finance it fully. And I'm not going to show this all, but we have if a bridge is built, if it is financed, then what will happen? We identify all that. And the last one, before I move it to my colleague, is the system theory of change. That shows us how system would be changed through evidence, through advocacy, and through technical assistance. These are identified from the gaps that we have identified with all the stakeholders. And these are the system, and you are not working alone, but you are working in an ecosystem, and you need a governance for an ecosystem. And for that, we have Titus from Forum C. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Zerihun. I think tumefika. Have you arrived? Good. So I'll take the next few minutes to sort of add to what is mentioned on ecosystem governance. My name is Titus Kuria. I work for Forum Civ, and you will see us at the end. So we didn't want to let you know who you are. We wanted to keep it as a secret, and we'll let you know who you are, who we are at the end. And I'll be speaking to several things, but just before that, I'm here with my colleague, Jackson, if you are in the room. And I want us to reflect. We started with animals. Susan, our moderator, started us with animals. It's not something we had planned, but let's reflect on this. When the forest is on fire, even the chameleon must abandon the walking style of its ancestor. So we are all here because the forest as we know it is on, isn't it? And so we are going to help you find a new walking style. So hopefully when you go back to your organizations and you're working differently, tell them where you learned this. But we mean in terms of practice and the ecosystem governance. But I want you to think about the partnerships and the ecosystems that you are part of. And take a moment to reflect on these questions. What is your partnership equitable in the first place? I think we had that first exercise and you could see the differentiation of thought. But is the partnership you are in equitable? Where does power actually sit in your partnerships? I had someone put in something very interesting that if you want to know who is powerful, just look at the size of the logo, right? And you can tell, or at least where it's placed, where the media can actually see, right? And someone else here said, you can have the logo, but please don't take the credit. So all those are tensions that exist within partnerships. Then whose voice shapes priorities and decisions? I grew up in an African household, and we had mothers who would give you instructions using their eyes. I think most of us are Africans here, right? So they would move you from one seat to another, right? Have you been in a meeting and someone speaks and then everyone else gets busy with their notes, right? Whose voice shapes priorities and decisions? Who controls resources, decisions, and I think I should have underlined and strike through information. All right? We keep saying information is power. But who gets the information first or who shares the information to others? Is that a demonstration of power? Then how are decisions made, especially under pressure? And then lastly, will your partnership hold when the pressure builds? We are now all operating under pressure. So again, reflect on your partnership and ask yourself, will the partnerships or the consortiums that are made hold? So we have been on a journey to reflect on how we deal with our partnerships, how we participate in consortiums. And what we'll be sharing is a project in progress. And we are trying to find an even ground of how we can participate better in our partnerships. Of course, as you will see in the end, we are an organization under transformation, moving from a traditional intermediary to an ecosystems builder. So one of the things we are beginning to appreciate, valuing each actor's knowledge, time, and contribution. I think someone mentioned the in-kind contributions or any other ways that you can contribute. Recognizing roles without creating hierarchy. And then lastly, creating space for reflection, challenge, and honest dialogue. Does that need to be funded? I'll leave it to the cheerleader of the optimist. Does that need to be funded? So we often say partnerships are equitable, but what does it mean in practice? I think that's a question I'd want you to carry with you. It's not just participation, it's about whose voice actually shapes the strength of the partnerships. Then I'll quickly move to power. The Kenyans with me in the room can appreciate the value of power. Everyone wants power. Who doesn't want power in this room? So, but you have to reflect on the power dynamics that are in your partnerships or ecosystem. One, control over resources. I think it's quite important. So power sits in resources, decisions, information, all right? And the risk allocation. I think throughout the sessions that we've had, we have valued the power of risk allocation and who controls what. So where are you in your partnership and ecosystem? And then inclusion is just not redistributing power. You know, you've been partnerships where people say, we'll have a rotational chairperson, right? Is that the true demonstration of what power is? So reflect on your partnerships and ask yourself, how do you sit in those partnerships? And those are things that we are also appreciating as we develop. And the challenge with power is just like the metaphorical iceberg. It's always hidden, all right? Do you know who sponsored the EAPC with most money now? Do you know who? He says yes. No, but usually the power is hidden. It's under the water. It's below the surface. Decision making is uneven. A lot of times you participate in places where decisions have already been made and you're here to rubber stamp, right? Then the last one is risk is unevenly distributed. And I think in our case, being an intermediary, one of the biggest risks that we have had to bear is deviations, for example, as we call them, misappropriation of resources, or even not meeting the donor objectives. Who bears that risk and how do you evenly distribute that? So from that, we are developing an ecosystem governance framework. And the question we are asking is your ecosystem governable? Because ecosystems, partnerships, they make or break with how you govern them. And we are calling it the ecosystem staircase. It has 3 levels. And what I'm going to take you through next is actually a practical exercise of how you can quickly check the partnerships you are in, all those that you are willing to join recently. So I want you to take out your phones. And in the groups, I don't know what to call them, the manyatas, for lack of a better word. Sorry, I'm going to share a QR code. Yes. So one of you, who is the fastest, I think I'm going to invent a criteria here. The one who logs into the platform, and I'm going to give a disclaimer that it's AI-based. So if you see a question from Claude AI asking you to check whether you are a robot, please bear with us for now. So anyone who has managed to log in? Can I see? All right. So the first ones then in your groups, please go through that. It's there are a few questions, not too many. I hope I still have time. Good. So just answer the questions. So what you are likely to see at the end of this, I hope I'm not moving too fast, but one of you in the group can actually help you share. So sorry? Okay. So yeah, I will spare the time for my colleague, but just answer the questions and then you will be able to see your score at the end. And that score will be interpreted to help you see where are you in your ecosystem. So we had tested this out with a few of my colleagues in the group and you can see the results. So again, okay. You can do it now? Okay, super. I'm told I have time. So I'll extend the time to you as well. How many have gone to the end? How many have finished? Anyone who has finished? Yeah, too bad. Persona non grata. No, it's something we are, the Wi-Fi, right? Anyone who has managed to finish the questions? Yeah, I know some of you may experience challenges because of not just the internet, but your securities on the phone. So we apologize for that. But as I said, it's something that we are working on to develop a platform that you can actually log in. So anyone who's finished? Very good. Do you want to help me pass the mic? Yeah, you can share your results. Sorry.
So it says your ecosystem governability.
Sorry, you can be a bit louder and your name and the organization if you don't mind.
I'm Elizabeth Wangare from the FK Foundation. We fund, find, and support support impact entrepreneurs.
Can you hear her?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Sorry.
So the result says your ecosystem governability score is the 7 out of 40. Level 6, system stewardship. The ecosystem demonstrates strong governability, shared stewardship, adaptive capacity, and sustainable collective delivery. Do I read the breakdown?
Yeah, sure.
So the breakdown says legitimacy, 6 out of 8, coordination and governance, 8 out of 8, collective delivery, 8 out of 8, learning and adoption, 8 out of 8, sustainability, 7 out of 8.
Thank you. Let's appreciate her. She happens to be one of the high achievers. Do you have anyone else who wants to share? There's a gentleman here at the front next to Rose.
The breakdown or
No, your results. First, give us the score. We are keen on the score.
okay. So the ecosystem demonstrates strong governability, shared stewardship, adaptive capacity, and sustainable collective delivery. So the breakdown by section: legitimacy 8 out of 8, coordination and governance 8 out of 8, collective delivery 7 out of 8, learning and adaptation 8 out of 8, sustainability 8 again.
Super. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we are trying to develop. And I think once it's at an advanced stage, we'll be able to share, hopefully as a free tool. And this is also where we are fundraising, that this can be a tool that anyone can use and check their ecosystem. So, we are Forum Civ, a Swedish member-based organization now with 160 plus member organizations and with regional offices now in 3 continents and a country office, I think, in Liberia. And we are a platform working globally with people and their organization. We work as an implementer, grant-making intermediary, and systems enabler, channeling resources to civil society actors and supporting multi-actor partnerships across contexts. And since 1995, we have channeled about 3 billion Swedish krona towards a just and sustainable world where all people have the power to effect change and improve their living conditions. And we have worked with hundreds of members, again, as a member organization, partners, and other actors across countries and sectors. We believe that there is no democracy without civil society. And if you need any further follow-up, you can reach out to myself or my colleague Jackson, who I introduced earlier, for any further follow-up conversation. So thank you very much for your attention. And I want to now invite my colleague Margaret to wrap this up with how they are practically setting their ecosystem.
Thank you, Titus. Good morning, everyone. Is it still morning? That was a trick question. It's actually afternoon. So my name is Margaret Wawera. I work for an organization called Mizizi Elimu Africa, and I'm here with my 2 colleagues who I hope are in the room, Beria and Hezron. And then I wanted to also recognize, because I'll be talking about the Action for Life Skills and Values, ALIVE. Do we have any members of ALIVE in the room? Okay, I think I saw Fitch. Yes, thank you, Sheila. So my presentation, I think what we've had, and ALIVE as a collective impact kind of initiative, is like a way of working. I'm looking at it beyond a network because it's a way of working. We have 18 organizations. It was founded. So let me first introduce it, because what I'll be speaking to are 9 principles that we've brought out that explain what collaboration looks like in our context. And those principles should guide, or they should help bring collaborations together. And we've documented them from what we have learned from working together since 2020. So Alive was founded in 2020, established in 2020. At that time, we didn't have funding. So the questions at the beginning, we didn't have funding, just a few organizations coming together, realizing that within the East African region, the governments were recognizing the need for competency-based, kind of learning or socio-emotional learning, depending on your context, and we call them life skills and values. But the challenge was in how that was being implemented. And so when we were coming together, we were trying to think socio-emotional learning and how it has worked in different areas across the globe, but what does it mean within our context? So we were trying to contextualize, and a lot of the existing, knowledge and also tools were not contextually developed from our region. And so we didn't have a lot of information. We had to bring in people to really train us on how they've done it elsewhere. And then we began the process of contextualizing it for our context. So at a high level, these are the members of the initiative. So we have about 18 implementing partners. That's the green part on that end. And when I say implementing partners, it's one strategy being implemented by 18 different organizations in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Zanzibar. And then we have, and when we started, it was just us mainly. Then funders came in, and we've seen a growth, in them even believing in funding as part of a pool, because Alive is one big strategy, and so they're able to fund different components of that strategy as part of a pool. And then we brought in research partners, and now we work with universities to be able to generate evidence that we need to be able to design the interventions that are helping us train teachers and parents and just educators on how to nurture and teach life skills and values. Then learning partners. So learning has been a very key role, which is how we've even been able to document the 9 principles. We're very intentional about learning. What is working? What is not working? In the different countries where we're working, what is emerging? What are the challenges, the bottlenecks, and things like that. And then system stewards. So for us, and I'll be honest and admit, when we started, we did not bring government on board. It was something that came later. And during phase 2, so we just launched phase 3 of Alive just this year. During phase 2, we had to spend a lot of time re-co-creating with government so that they're able to come on board, because we realized no matter how many times we implement parallel interventions, they can't achieve the kind of impact that we want to see, and so we needed government on board. So during phase 2, we were able to build that momentum, and now we see government institutions co-leading this initiative. I'll just quickly skim through. So these are our partners, the 18 implementing partners, our current funders, the learning partners, and the research partners. So before I come to the principles, I wanted to introduce, so when we started in 2020, of course, we didn't know how collaboration works. So we looked, there was this legacy framework. It's a 2011 collective impact model that talked about those key things as being the instruments that you need for collaboration to work. So this is what informed how we started working together. The common agenda, shared measurement, which is about results, collaborative, accountability for results, mutually reinforcing activities that can be implemented together, and then continuous communication. So this is where we started, learning from what existed at that time. But the core shift for us, and the reason why I was talking about Mizizi, otherwise we wouldn't even mention our organization, it's usually just Alive as a collaborative, is that the movement from being a backbone organization to an ecosystem steward. So the way the collaboration works, Mizizi, and we're based in Kenya. So a lot of the funds come to us, and then we're able to regrant to the 18 organizations that are implementing this work. So moving from what is described here, just a neutral intermediary receiving funds and giving it to organizations and just sort of managing the collaboration, to being an ecosystem steward where you're facilitating or creating an enabling environment for the collaboration to thrive, which goes beyond, just asking for reports and doing audits on the funds that you're giving to the implementing partners. So this is the evolving, like the matrix of evolution that we've been able to document on. This is the model that I said when we started. This is what was guiding us. These are some of the principles that have been updated based on what we are learning and the key shifts on that end. So I won't delve there because I want to speak about the 9 principles, and I hope I still have time. So these are the 9 principles. And the first one, shared and distributed leadership. Now, we talked about leadership earlier. If I can share what we've learned from Alive, is that you need that one person who puts everything on the line, right, for this collaboration to work. But also, the power aspect comes in, because what we learned and came up with a distributed leadership model is that we had co-PIs. So we had the principal investigator, and then co-PIs for the different components within Alive that were being implemented. And these people would make decisions together. They meet every month, and they're able to discuss what is emerging, what is being collected as learnings, and they make decisions together. So that's on distributed leadership. And then trust-based and relational collaboration. Now, relationships are so important. You don't want to reach a point where, you have your initiative is convening or having a conference and you're just dreading, seeing those people. You have to work together, but you don't want to be there. So investing in relationships among the people who are building, the initiative, who are implementing, and it goes as deep as realizing, someone has gotten a PhD, we need to celebrate them. And we do that whenever we come together. So investing on those relationships, which comes with building trust, but also connecting as people and working together. Just having a pleasant working relationship with the people in the collaborative. Then the third one is collaboration over competition. I had the conversation around logos. So as Alive, whenever you see Alive materials, you'll never see individual logos. It's usually just the Alive logo, and we have it. It's what we use on our materials. It's what we use on our documents. Of course, we've encountered challenges like in Uganda or Tanzania, where you see, they want it attached to a specific organization. So like if it's Uwezo Uganda that is working with the ministry, they're saying we want to accredit this organization. And then co-creation and shared problem definition. So when I speak to Alive Phase 3, it took us a year to co-create it. So we are sitting together, we are finding time, and we're saying, this is what we need to do for us to see our children showing these values and life skills that we're working towards. Then continuous learning and adaptation. You never know, things keep changing. And so we even have, one of our pillars is around learning. And we're able to have someone who's constantly collecting what people are learning from how they're implementing, what is emerging, and that flows all the way to the leadership team that is able to see and make decisions so that we're able to adapt as we go. Then mutual accountability and capacity strengthening. The issue of power comes here as well, because we are all accountable for the results, but also for the failures, right? So if something is not working and it fails, we are all mutually accountable for it. But the other thing is, and one of the things now that we're doing is, we don't want all the funding to keep coming to Mizizi. We want it also to be able to go to the other implementing partners. And part of that has come with a lot of capacity strengthening, which we do collaboratively. We've been introducing things like CEOs, learning circles, where they meet quarterly and they're able to learn from each other and sort of share, tips on how they do various things. then equity and enabling ecosystem, everyone having a voice. We would, there are times, of course, there are partners, and it's been growing. Like when it started, we had about 4 organizations, now we're 18. So sometimes over the years, when partners are coming in, and we are very conscious of it, is that they feel, oh, these people have been together for a long time. You know, how do I become as knowledgeable in this work as them? And we give them an opportunity to just speak out, you know, and be able to share also their thoughts, because they're part of the collective, because they have something that they're bringing, you know, on board. And one of the things, we had a summit recently, and I remember one of the CEOs from a grassroots organization who used to be very shy, you know, about speaking, and I could see her just occupying her space and speaking, and I was like, wow. So the growth, you know, not being in terms of the work, but also in the individuals that are doing the work and the organizations that are doing the work. I talked about shared accountability for results, and then confidence and agency, which is about, you know, growing these people to be able to speak about some of this work. So those are our 9 principles. I wonder whether they resonate. Is my time up? They resonate with you, and we'll have an opportunity to speak to it in a bit. So as I wind up, some of the things, these are some of the stories I wanted to share, just from some of the people who are part of the collective on decentralizing trust. So because in the collaborative, that trust is given, and a realistic example I can give, Mizizi, we work in Kenya. And despite the fact that, you know, we are the regional hub, if we go to Tanzania, we are not leading anything. So the partners who lead the work in Tanzania, we just let them run with the work, and they're able to take that leadership. And when you see how that trust has been decentralized within the collaborative, it's also, there's a downward, what do you call it, downward stream. That's not the word, I'm sure. But so even within the organizations, you see that trust is being decentralized. Then systemic credibility. We are very transparent. We do budgets together, and anyone who wants to see it can see it. How much funding is coming from any funder is also transparent as well. Then from performance to delivery, that person saying that they are no longer driven by a need to perform, they have that responsibility to deliver. I'm being told I have no time, so I am wrapping up. I was told if I press one button here, the whole hotel burns down. I don't know if I pressed it by mistake. But in terms of bridging the divide and what this means for our practice, for stewards and practitioners, which I see in the room, most of us fall there, distribute leadership. No matter how knowledgeable one person is in the collaborative, everyone has something to offer. And then prioritizing the ecosystem health over individual interests, and embracing stewardship. That transparency across everything that you're doing in the collaborative. And then, of course, for funders, is funding relationship building. And it takes time. It takes, those convenings are so important. They cost a lot of money, especially if you're working as a region. You have to bring everyone together. But investing in that and building trust is what sustains collaboration over time. Then accept shared branding. So when you're submitting the reports, like for us, we talk about Alive. We don't say Mizizi did this, whether Uganda did this. We talk about Alive. And then flexible budgeting, so that we're able to just look at outcomes as opposed to the many things that happen in the background. I think I will end there. So thank you so much. I will invite Niv and Rose. Okay. So from the consultation, we will do a quick group exercise. as I share what we will be discussing, someone will pass around a document that has the 9.
From your experience, what tends to break down fast in collaborations and why? Do I start here? Okay.
Okay. In my experience, of course, competition always somehow finds its way. It sneaks in collaborative engagements. So the compliance to criteria, of course, that is donor-driven, and communication is also one that breaks down because at conception you might have aligning objectives, but then at inception and more or less dividing the roles and the work. Of course, the nitty-gritties here tied to funding and budgeting and all these other things that become more or less bottlenecks. What works well towards mitigation of that is transparency. Communication requires coherence and conciseness across all institutions, what to do and when, and then co-governance in that collaborative effort, then dialogue and cross-pollination.
Wow. What if I gave you half an hour to discuss?
For the same question, our first is relationships, followed by workflows, and then sustainability. And how we mitigate this is principle number 7, equity and enabling ecosystems. We should be aware of how people hold power and power asymmetries. Also, because especially if you're working with youth and women, there's a tendency of them, their voice being suppressed, especially around knowledge, but also fund, right? Like the voice and knowledge. Second is co-creation, which is principle 4. So have co-defined problems, but also co-defined solutions. And then the last one on sustainability is be keen to have trust-based and relational collaboration. And then the culprits of this breakdown are usually research and fundraisers, because they feel like they steered the knowledge, but also the monies, and therefore competition comes up, and that hinders technical progress, but also relational progress.
Can I please move to group 2 or question 2? Please. Thank you.
Okay, question 2. We talk around which of the 9 principles is already strongest in our ecosystems. Each of us had a different principle. For instance, we had 1. Okay. Okay, let me go to 4. 4 was picked co-creation, and the reason for the people who have picked it in their ecosystems, they say because it's embedded in their program approach, and they have seen it work very well. And then it promotes ownership and sustainability of the program, and then it ensures that the problem being solved is the real one for the end beneficiaries, not solving from our boardrooms. Yeah, I think those are the 2 ones.
As the strongest, which is enabled by number 2, which is around trust and communication. So that's our reflection.
Why it's so challenging is because of 3 reasons. Number 1 is around mismatch in values and cultures. So we come into consortiums when we have different practices, cultures, and ways of doing business. So that creates some misunderstanding on how we do our work. Number 2, some of the collaborations are guided by MOUs, which is paperwork. And so the deviation between what is in paper and practice raises mistrust. The third point is around power imbalance. Within the consortiums, there are leads And so because of gatekeeping and because of unequal access to information, you are mistrusted. Back to you.
The collective voice on indicators instead of the siloed indicators. And this was a reference I gave from a coalition. And then somebody else gave which principle? Principle 4. Principle 4, yes, the co-creation, and because of kind of they're spread out in their work and they're just conflicting priorities because everyone is busy and coming together. And then somebody gave 9, which is confidence and agency within an organization, because some top people might be able to articulate things, but the rest are the engine and doing the work very well, but they are not able to rise up and maybe articulate themselves. So that is needed.
A round of applause. Thank you very much for that conversation. The most important thing is the conversation you've had.
Thank you. And we are now standing in your way of lunch. So please bear with us for this last presentation for you. What we wanted to do, just to introduce myself, I'm Niamh Balfour Brown, and I work with an organization called Spring Impact. And Spring Impact is about 16 years old now. And it was kind of born out of a frustration of seeing so many good pilots generate great results and really struggle to scale. And if they did manage to scale, then often to sustain impact at scale was a challenge. So in our organization, we work with mission-driven organizations across the globe, work with them to help them scale their impact. That might be through government, working in partnership with others, or as in the case of Rooted Futures, it's really working to help scale a collaborative infrastructure and to sustain that to deliver impact at scale. So Rooted Futures, similar to Mazizi, as Margaret was sharing, is a collective impact model, but we're much younger. We're like the baby, and maybe Mazizi is a teenager, but we're 2 years. We had 1 year of co-creation, and then we've had 1 year of implementation under our belt. And essentially, it's operating currently in 4 countries in East and Southern Africa. And it's got one mission, one purpose, and that is to work towards ensuring that every child grows up in a safe, nurturing, loving family. So not on the street, not in institutions, and in families. And so we do this work in 4 main ways, right? We create a shared evidence base. We also work with people with lived experience of family separation. We jointly communicate and jointly advocate in order to influence policy and also to influence investment. And what our role at Spring is, we play the backbone role. And what that means is that we convene, right? And the idea is not around control. So it's really helping the partners to reunite around those shared goals, to really champion collective impact and the benefits that it can help, to develop that shared MEL system that Margaret was mentioning, to communicate that, and also to support the collaborative to really help scale it up and sustain it beyond the current funding period. So that's the next stage of our collective work that we're going to do together. How are we governed? So we have, similar to what Titus was mentioning, and Zerhan and Margaret, we're really looking at how we embed trust in the governance system and make it work for the collective. So we really try to make sure that governance helps to make that work. We've got a leadership council, which is at the strategic level, and all of the partners, these make decisions together. So power is shared across the partners, including people with lived experience of family separation, helping to make those decisions. And the backbone, we convene those councils. We embed consensus-based decision-making, and we've co-created a decision-making framework together to ensure that we're embedding those equitable principles. And then on the operational level, we have these cross-country operational working groups. Those are kind of looking at the evidence, the advocacy that we do together. How do we amplify lived experience? So we are learning about the governance, and we kind of do a check-in and a review on an annual basis, because there's stuff one of the learnings is really trying to right-size it. Many of these organizations, there's capacity constraints, there's competing priorities. So we're really trying to work to make sure that it's sustainable and it works for the collective. Right. In addition to what my other colleagues have shared, 2 other ways that we are seeing trust being built is through these 2 elements of our work. When partners are doing the joint work together, whether that's the advocacy, whether that's developing tools, whether that's kind of doing joint advocacy together, we're seeing that process is really helping for partners to understand each other, to understand where their strengths are, and we're seeing that really come through at the moment. The other is convening. So this is often very hard to justify in our budgets to donors. But what we've seen is that when we come together, it is real magic. Similar to kind of the last few days, when you put people in a room, it creates that kind of magic. It makes you feel like you can do things. So when we've come together, we're seeing how that trust is built. And one way that's showing up is each of these partners over the last 2 years have gone through some challenges. Funding challenges, organizational challenges. And in those moments, we're seeing other partners step in, help to carry some of the load while capacity is low for some of the other organizations. So when we're kind of measuring trust, that's one thing we're looking at, that kind of cooperation. When we have all of these conditions in place, the funding, the governance, the trust, what we then see is some of the impact coming through. And that's why I'd like to hand you over to my Rose. She's one of our anchor partners in Tanzania, going to share how we see that benefiting the wider collective.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I promise I'm going to be very quick so we don't get late to our lunch. So as Niv said, my name is Rose Kagoro. I work for Railway Children Africa based in Tanzania, but also we are the anchor partner to Rooted Futures Collective Initiative. And mine is just to share an example of what we have been discussing throughout this session, when all these conditions that help the collective work or consortium or partnerships, or whatever we want to call them, then what are we able to see? So at Rooted Future, across the 4 countries where partners work, we work together with the government, civil society organizations, people with lived experience, and academia. And the point I want to stress here about people with lived experience, they are not just participants, but rather they take part in designing the research, interpreting the findings, and most importantly, designing the advocacy messages and learning that are grounded in their lived experience. And so what we have learned is that the evidence that we are generating or creating together with the government, CSOs, people with lived experience, and academia, on itself cannot lead to the system change or transformational change we want. It needs the right conditions around it, or the enabling conditions that Titus, Margaret, Niv, and Zerhun have talked about. And so an example that I want to give is how Railway Children Africa in Tanzania and Charles I in Uganda were able to organize a learning exchange visit between the government of Tanzania and the government of Uganda, where the government of Tanzania was able to learn from the emerging learning and evidence of how the government of Uganda is transforming the care and protection system in the country. And what they were able to see is how the programs are being implemented, the evidence that has been collected, the learnings that came from that, but most importantly, the challenges that the government of Uganda faced and how they can also navigate them. And so when they went back in Tanzania, what they did was develop some sort of resolutions or action points on how they're going to implement everything that they have been able to learn from Uganda. And so although we have not yet seen the system change happening in complete, but what we are able to see now is the emerging changes or milestones, I would call them, that the government of Tanzania is taking. They have commissioned a national assessment of alternative care. Remember, Nick said our collective goal is to ensure that every child grows up in a family. So the government of Tanzania, from the learning exchange visit in Uganda, commissioned a national alternative care assessment to be able to understand the situation in which children within the countries are being cared for. And from this assessment, there were findings, and these findings, the government is already committed to implementing them. So what we see here is that the learning or evidence has started moving to becoming a policy dialogue. It moved from Uganda and Tanzania, already reached in Africa and Charles I Uganda, across countries being able to learn from each other and to be able to influence the changes that we want to see. And the key message that I want all of us to leave with here today is that the most valuable investment was not in the learning exchange visit, but it was in the learnings, the relationships, the trust, the coordination, the governance structures that were already in place that facilitated or enabled this learning exchange to take place. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And just what I'm hearing then is very critical for us to think about contextualizing for our context. And we've been given a tool that can help us to do that. We've been given principles and standards that can help us to do that. But more importantly, we have been given a pragmatic approach of doing it. Thank you very much, Rooted, for that ability to be able to do that. And I think the question I want to really ask you as you leave this room is, do you feel that you're moving from collaborations of convenience to collaborations that are giving value and are leading to the impact we want? Because that's very critical for us to think about. So another round of applause to that group. There are a few people who did have questions. So I know we have 5 minutes to spare. So I'll just allow 2 burning questions. I know there's one here. Okay, so I'll take that and then a comment from Jackson. So let's begin. You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds. My name is Mesfin. I'm from Catholic Relief Services. What I would like to ask is, in promoting local leadership, as you said in your presentations, ensuring equitable partnership is one of your key focus. So my question is, have you ever done any equitable partnership scorecard which indicates that your local organization, local partners attest to that you have that equitable partnership? Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Festus from the Fred Hollows Foundation. My question goes to the first gentleman who presented, the FICA gentleman. I enjoyed to look at your very nicely done matrix with some stages. So the last one was, I think, normalization. And I want to hear from you whether you have had some of the projects or some of the things that have reached that stage at the moment, and really what that looks like, and what continues to be your role when that happens, just for my learning. Thank you so much.
Is looking at the 5 conditions
referring us back to the presentation that was done with my colleague Titus on communication, because I'm saying it's very important in collaboration and partnerships. Communication is an example. I had my son, who's 8 years old, last year. He came and asked me that I'm hearing from my sister you are doing X, Y, Z, and yet my sister was in school, boarding school, and she's already aware of what you are doing, and you did not tell me. And I asked him, what could you have done if I told you differently? He said, I could have known. So in a partnership collaboration, communication is very important so that information is not hidden, so that the other partner who plays the power keeps on sending you information a day to the convening. And you're wondering, why have you been holding this communication? You check the email trail, you would see they received this information 2 weeks ago. I think that asymmetrical information will make or break the partnership or collaboration. Thank you.
The goal is always to get to that stage. From the 4 countries we are implementing Zambia, Rwanda, Uganda, and Ethiopia, as a country we have not reached at that stage, but as a region we are very close to reaching one of the regions in Ethiopia. It is a very big region, over 25 million people, Amhara region. And what it would look like is they are very close to, they're already implementing or building the rural infrastructure themselves. They are financing 80% now, but in discussion to go up to 90 to 95%, very close to 80. So normalization is 100% financing by the government itself. So financing is there, capacity to deliver, and as well as also what our role there is a little bit of advocacy with them, and to take this learning to the rest 11 other regions in the country. So as a region, yes, but as a country, no.
Thank you. And for the question from my colleague at CRS, so I was looking to my other colleagues to see if they had done something. But what we do at Futures is that we do an annual questionnaire to test the health of the partnership with those 5 organizations that I mentioned. And our goal is to really embed a culture of learning, and that is the most critical thing for Rooted Futures, is what can we learn about collaborating and what can we improve on. So sometimes the results, the first one, some of the results were, oh, we have a lot more work to do. And I would say that we're on that journey, and each year continuously trying to improve and address. So there's definitely loads more work to be done, but I feel like we started well.